Join me today on Walk with History as we talk about the murder of Wild Bill Hickok from Deadwood, South Dakota.
Went down to the river, washed my sins away, and praying for another day. I went down to that river, washed my sins for free. The devil's on the other bank, staring back at me. I'm a dead man walking.
I'm here in Deadwood, South Dakota. We're walking down the main historic street. And at the time, in 1876, when they discovered gold here, this would have been just a muddy street. Mud and wood. They would have put up a hotel, a saloon, a brothel, and some restaurants, maybe a livery for the horses, but this would not have been a very muddy, dirty, dusty area. And a lot of makeshift tents around here. The military would have come in and out of here as well. But today, it's the historic main street of Deadwood, South Dakota.
Pretty when I'm knocking down heaven's door. I'm a dead man walking. I'm a dead man walking. I'm a dead man. I'm a dead man walking. I'm a dead man walking. I'm a dead man.
I have a brothel or bordello behind me, which is a very big industry here in Deadwood because you have a lot of men coming to town, so women to service the men was also something that was brought here into town. So it was Colonel George Armstrong Custer that led an expedition here to the Black Hills in 1874 when gold was discovered. And that announcement was the catalyst for the Black Hills Gold Rush. That's what made all these people come here. It created a new and lawless town of Deadwood, quickly reached a population of 5,000. By 1877, there were 12,000, and other sources say 25,000 by 1876.
I'm a dead man walking. I'm a dead man walking. I'm a dead man.
Was the real deal. He also was a known marksman. He was a scout in the Union Army. He was a lawman. He's married in Cheyenne in March of 1876, comes here to make his fortune, and it's here that he's playing cards on August 1st of 1876. So the Number 10 Saloon in Deadwood is a recreation of what the Number 10 Saloon looked like in 1876, but it's not the right location. So the Number 10 Saloon burned down, and the original owners moved across the street and built it down there. Now it looks exactly like it did, but I'm going to take you to the actual location of where the Number 10 Saloon stood when Wild Bill Hickok was actually playing cards.
Dead man walking.
Hickok was playing poker, Nuttall and Mann Saloon, Number 10 in Deadwood. A seat opened up and a drunk man named Jack McCall sat down to play, and McCall lost heavily. The next day, Hickok is playing cards here again, and when he joins the game, his back is to the door. McCall, who comes in and walks up behind Hickok and shouted, "Damn you, take that," before shooting Hickok in the back of the head at point-blank range. Hickok will die instantly. The dead man's hand is black aces, black eights, and they don't know what the fifth card was. He's playing 5-card draw. So, but that's the dead man's hand, aces over eights. And that is what he's holding when he's shot on August 2nd, 1876. actually started kind of illegally because this land belonged to the Dakota. So the people that came here and started this settlement were doing it not their land. So the Treaty of Fort Laramie of 1868 gave this land to the Dakota. So coming here, settling here was illegal. And that's when the federal government tried to buy the land back after they realized gold was here. But the Dakotas never wanted to give it back. And they still today don't want to give it back. McCall shoots Hickok, jumps on a horse, but most horses that are outside of the saloon, their saddles have been relaxed on them, not cinched tight, ready to ride. So he jumps on the horse and proceeds to just fall right off the horse because the saddle slides into the mud. So he runs down the street here to the butcher shop where he's eventually found, and they hold a trial, and he claims that Hickok had killed his brother in Abilene, Kansas, and he's taken revenge. And most miners, this is the lawless West where they believe an eye for an eye, and they let him go. And so then that's when he goes back to Wyoming. He's in Laramie, running his mouth about how he shot Wild Bill Hickok. He shot one of the greatest gunmen, and he's running his mouth in front of a U.S. Marshal. Takes him back to Dakota territory, and he's found guilty. And he is hanged the next day, March 1st, 1877. Buried in the cemetery there, still with the rope around his neck. He was buried relatively quickly the very next day, and the cemetery is quickly filled. In 1879, on the 3rd anniversary of Hickok's original burial, Utter paid to move Hickok's remains to the new Mount Moriah Cemetery. So right above here are the grave sites, but this tells you a little bit about. Here's Martha Jane Burke, Calamity Jane, born 1852 in Missouri. She dies here in August 1st, 1903. She takes a stagecoach ride here, and she gets very sick here. And when she dies, she asked to be buried beside Wild Bill. She didn't know Wild Bill very long. She met him on the wagon train out from Fort Laramie here to Deadwood, and then he is shot a short time later. But they got along very well. Calamity Jane battled alcoholism, and Wild Bill Hickok also battled alcoholism, so they definitely could relate on that. So here's Calamity Jane right behind me, Wild Bill off to the side. She wants to be buried beside Bill. She had met him in Fort Laramie. They had hooked up for a wagon train from Fort Laramie up here to Rapid City. They just really connected early on, and she just wanted to be buried there beside him. Calamity Jane had a hard life. From an early age, she was orphaned, she took care of her family, and she succumbed to alcoholism pretty early. She would wear men's clothing, she would run around with the men. She just found she had more freedom doing that. But at times she would practice prostitution. She was a soiled dove right outside of Fort Laramie in a bordello there. She really had a charity heart and wanted to do good for other people, but she just couldn't get her addiction to alcohol under control. This cemetery is up on the hill overlooking the town, and you just never know the colorful characters who make American history, who make the Wild West. They do wild and crazy things. They're big risk takers, and with that comes sometimes short life expectancy.
I'm a dead man walking. I'm a dead man walking. I'm a dead man.